Hello class, this is Professor Morrison and this is your presentation regarding how to complete your final presentation regarding the research essay. This will also be your final exam for the course. So what is this assignment? Well, this is the presentation component of the final exam, which is the whole final exam, but it is a continuation of your research essay. So it is based entirely on your research essay. However, it is not considered part of your research essay grade. Instead, it is by itself the grade for the final exam. So after writing the research essay, you're going to create a presentation based on the research essay, and you will submit it to Canvas. You will have a minimum of 12 slides, which should be about 350 to 500 words, many of which you've probably already written. Normally, we would say this is 3 to 5 minutes long, but you're not going to actually be recording your voice. So if you were to present it, it would take you 3 to 5 minutes. So that would just be a good guideline to use as you create it. You can use PowerPoint, which you get for free as a student with Office 365, Google Slides, which is free as part of Google's suite, or you can use Prezi, and I do suggest only using the free version of that. So how do I do this? Well, here are your instructions. The first thing that you need to do is to select your presentation tool. PowerPoint is what I'm using here. Actually, I'm using VoiceThread, but I did upload my PowerPoint to it, so that is what I used as a creation tool. You can also use Slides, which is a Google Drive product, which is free, and Prezi, which they do have a free version. Sometimes it's offered as a trial version. I use the free version for myself. It's www.prezi.com. They all work equally well. If you have PowerPoint or Prezi, you can download the Prezi as a portable Prezi, is what they call it, submit the actual files. Or if you use Slides, you could download that and submit it too. If you submit a link, it must be public. Otherwise, I cannot view it. No, I do not have a Google account under my school email. If you try and send it to me that way, I will not be able to see it. Sometimes you're able to use Google Suite to attach a Google Slide product. Canvas is very finicky. We're never quite sure what Canvas will be able to accept. It's best to have an actual file. If you are submitting a link, it must be public. The next thing you need to do is get out your outline and your essay and find your thesis, find your supporting points, find the counter argument and your rebuttals and the evidence to support your thesis. Make sure you have all of that readily available to you. Then you start with a title slide that includes your name. Give each category its own slide. Remember, you have to have at least 12 slides. Create as many as you need in order to cover each supporting point and main details of evidence. Remember that your research essay, you could have 3 supporting points or 4 or maybe even 5. So really, it depends on what you've written as to how many slides you're going to have. But no matter what, you should have at least 12. And you need to use visuals to help us understand your ideas, at least 3. More is better. You could use photos like from Getty Images, which are free if you're not using them to make money. So Getty, Getty images.com is a good place to go. Make sure that you're not using anything that has a copyright, so that would be a good place to go. Morgue files is another good one, MORGUE files.com. Those are photos that are left over from photo shoots that photographers are willing to let people use. Or you can find bar graphs or pie charts or other visual representations of statistics like at the Pew Research Center or online at the library. I have two examples I'm going to show you. They're both from students in previous classes. The first example is really bare bones. It doesn't have everything filled in, but it's a nice kind of placeholder for you to use as a guide when you create your own. So the student put his title here and or hers, and then the student name underneath it. So college education is worth the effort by student name. So you should have a title slide that contains your title and your name. The next thing that you should provide is your thesis statement. And you can see that this person has a very raw minimum of a thesis statement here, a main idea, and 3 supporting details. And that's fine. That is the minimum. Yours could have 4 or 5. Yours could also incorporate the counter argument in the beginning. Remember, this should be a robust, complex thesis statement that is the answer to your research question. Here we have preliminary reasons that support the student's claim, and we're just briefly listing them here, and we'll go into more detail in future slides. And then we have supporting point 1, and then we would include more evidence and perhaps a quote, a summary, or a paraphrase, maybe even also a visual. And we would then also give credit to our sources, not just for text or summaries or paraphrases, but also for images. You could even put your visuals on slides by themselves, which is totally fine. Now you notice that this one has some links to it, and it says this photo by unknown author is licensed under CC-BY. And that means that we're able to use it. And if you're using PowerPoint, which again you have available to you free as a student with Office 365, you can click on Insert and Photos and Online Photos, and it will only bring up photos that you're able to use without needing to get permission. And then it will automatically give you a little blurb saying how it's licensed. So you're totally welcome to do that also. Here we have supporting point 2, and you can see there's room for another visual. You can expand on the types of proof that is used, and we're using little icons that are again free for you to use in PowerPoint, and you would just say insert, pictures, and then icons, and then you can look through all the icons that are there for you for free. While I really do like using icons, please know that I will not consider those to be the 3 visuals that you need that would specifically support what you are saying in your research essay. So we want to make sure we're using images that display what we're trying to say and are not just cute kittens like I'm using here as examples or icons. Those are in addition. You can also make the visual your background and then type on top of it as long as it makes sense. And this is another photo that I used PowerPoint and I said insert online photos, and it found me one that had no copyright issues. Yours would need to be specific to your subject. Here we have supporting point 3, and then you would expand on your proof, your evidence, and insert a visual here or on the next slide. So here we have another visual. And when you have more than 3 supporting points, you want to continue this pattern for your 4th and or 5th supporting point if you have those for your topic. Next, we want to have the possible oppositions to your claim, and you just go ahead and list those there. This is another example of a placeholder slide. You would insert your actual rebuttals here. Then you would place your conclusion here. Remember, you're not copying and pasting whole paragraphs. You're just putting in the highlights, bullet points, little quotes, things like that. You're not trying to fill your slide with text. Here is where it kind of makes me sad, because if we were going to be presenting in class, then you would totally have a question slide. You probably still want to include it though. It can be one of your 12 slides. Your very last slide would then be your works cited, and you place them here. Keep in mind that it's not going to format it perfectly. Do your best, even if it's just a bulleted list. You just need to give credit to your sources for images and for your quote summaries and or paraphrases. Okay, so here's another example. It was also completed using PowerPoint, and it's not bare bones and there's no placeholders. It's completely filled out. However, it is just the minimum. It's exactly the minimum of what I'm asking for. You are welcome to expand on that in yours. Okay, so this one has the title Dating at a Young Age, and then by student name, and it's monochromatic, which is the theme that they've used throughout. So you want to make sure you're not, switching around, make sure it's visible. This person chose to begin with the research question and then put the thesis statement under it, which is very effective. This is why I normally suggest beginning your essay with your research question, so that at the end of your introduction, you've answered it in your thesis statement. It's perfectly good. Why reinvent the wheel? And then it makes sense and it has a logical flow to it. And then you go on throughout your essay to prove that thesis statement. And so here this person has done, again, the bare minimum in terms of a thesis statement. We have a main idea and 3 supporting points, which is fine. Here we see just the listing of the supporting points. So we're not filling our slides with text. We're just putting bullet points. Okay, so this is our slide for supporting point 1. It doesn't say supporting point 1, it says teen dating violence, but we know because we just saw the previous slide that this is supporting point 1. We see that we're not filling our slide with lots of text. We do have a quote, and we have an in-text citation for that quote. Here we have further evidence for this point. We have another quote that is given credit, and we have a photo with good dramatic impact, and we have credit for that photo as well. The next one we have is for supporting point 2, and we have some evidence to support it. And then here we have more evidence, and we have a quote, and we have an in-text citation for the quote, and we have a photo, and we have a credit for the photo. And I was a little skeptical at first, but this student really wanted to put in a photo of Zac Efron, and they knew their audience very well. The audience really appreciated this photo, and so it worked really great. Next, we have the last supporting point that this student had. Remember, you could have more than 3. You could have 4 or even 5. And we have another quote, and we have another in-text citation for that quote. Next, we have another quote, an in-text citation for it, and a photo with dramatic impact, and a credit for it as well. Next, we have the oppositions, and we're just going to list them, bullet points here, not a whole lot of text again. After this, we list our rebuttal to the oppositions. Again, it's not a lot of text, it just says what it needs to. Finally, we have the conclusion. Again, bullet points, not your conclusion copied and pasted. No, just bullet points to keep the audience interested and let them know what the main points are. Here we have the works cited slide, and look at this bulleted list. This is not what we would ever want to see in our document, in our essay. It would be completely wrong. There go your MLA points, all gone. Goodbye, MLA points. However, on PowerPoint, it is next to impossible to get works cited to format correctly. So for the presentation only, I would accept works cited that look similar to this, like in a bulleted list. And then, of course, the student did have a questions slide, and there were questions and answers, and I'm hoping that someday we'll get back to that format. But in the meantime, just make sure that you have a slide there because it is a presentation which is supposed to be interactive, and that's its genre is presentation. And so we really do expect to see a question slide. And if you have any questions for me, please let me know. I'm only an email away. And enjoy preparing your presentation.